Hey everybody, off the Mike Sports Network here. Going on a run of NBA content as the season is going to be ending this weekend, and we're going to start the play-in tournament next week, and the playoffs will start. I think a week from Saturday. It looks like it's going to begin because you'll have the play-in tournament games during the week, um, and then the last play-in tournament games I think happen Friday, and then we start the playoffs Saturday and Sunday. We'll be looking forward to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and also got to give them credit at some point in the video later on. But um, listen, two of the bigger disappointments in the NBA this season. It became very apparent, and I was actually going back and forth with my buddy Ryan Hickey over at the Infinity Sports Network, one of my good friends in radio. Good dude. Um, the Phoenix Suns were officially eliminated from play-in, playoff, any contention. They're out. They're not going to be playing past this weekend. Um, it's one of the great disappointments, and I've talked about it here on this channel. It's one of the great disappointments in the history of the league, considering you had Kevin Durant, Bradley Beal, and Devin Booker on the same roster, and Mike Budenholzer, a championship level coach who has won with the Bucks. He won with the Hawks. He's one of the better coaches in the league. Kind of a little bit of an underachiever in terms of, like, when it comes to the playoffs, but to not get this team into the playoffs after they were what, like, I think like the fourth or fifth seed in the West, they're not even in it this year. That's wild. Just wild. And then you go to the Eastern Conference, and another kind of super team that was formed was in Philadelphia with Joel Embiid, Tyrese Maxey, and Paul George. And they're not going to make the playoffs or play in. These teams are both going to be in the lottery. They don't even get a chance to play in the play-in tournament. So, two of the biggest disappointments in the entire NBA history, not just this season, in the entire NBA's history. So, I posed a question to my buddy, Ryan Hickey, and I basically said, who's the bigger disappointment? And, you know, you can make the argument both ways that, hey, a lot of people were expecting Philadelphia to, potentially be a challenger to Boston, and they're not even there. Phoenix, we kind of saw that this was kind of a bad fit, a bad marriage in this, even with a good coach. But it's hard to look at Philadelphia as, like the bigger disappointment, just given the fact, look who two out of the three in there. Like Paul George has been a consistent, like, underachiever his entire career. The same thing with Joel Embiid. Tyrese Maxey's actually been a really good player. They were injured this year, so it kind of makes sense. The Suns, there's no excuse. Like most of those guys, like Kevin Durant has been in and out of the lineup, but Kevin Durant, look, when Kevin Durant has been healthy, he's still one of the best players in the NBA. Yet for some reason, this has not worked. And Devin Booker, this guy was in NBA Finals 4 years ago. Bradley Beal came over, made the decision to go to Phoenix. He's locked in there with a no trade clause. They wanted to get Jimmy Butler. Bradley Beal didn't want to get out of there because he was like, "Fuck this! I made the decision to come here." So, to me, the biggest disappointment in the NBA still is Phoenix. Even if the Western Conference is harder, to have those three players for the most part fully healthy for most of the season, and you can't even get into the top 10 in the Western Conference? You kidding me? You kidding me? That's ridiculous. Like at least with Philadelphia, there's a built-in excuse. Joel Embiid's always hurt. Paul George was hurt, and he's been an underachiever. And Tyrese Maxey was hurt this year too. So to me, it's a really easy decision here. That I think the Sixers are still the biggest disappointment, but still, these are two of the biggest disappointments, or not the Sixers are not the biggest. The Suns are the biggest disappointment, maybe in the history of the NBA, at least this season. So, um, these are both two of the biggest disappointments team wise in the history of the league. Like both these teams should have been playoff teams. They both didn't make it for different reasons, but because of the fact that Phoenix was more fully healthy and had Kevin Durant, they built this team. They went out of their ownership went out of the way to do all this crazy stuff, even if it wasn't going to work. You should still be in the top 10. At least with Philadelphia, like we knew that, hey, they've got guys who are hurt, then they stopped trying, and they're trying to tank. But it's just like, come on, Phoenix was trying, and the fact that they couldn't even get into the top 10 in the Western Conference, yes, that's hard, but still, They should have been, especially Dallas traded away Lukas Doncic. They couldn't even get past them. That's how bad they were. That's how bad they were. So yeah, I think the Suns had a worse are a bigger disappointment. Still, these are two of the most disappointing franchises and two of the most disappointing teams in NBA history to happen in the same season. Both of them don't make the playoffs. Just wild. Just wild. Crazy NBA season's coming to an end. We'll have a lot more coming here on the channel. Thanks so much for watching. I'll see you guys soon. Bye-bye.